IVM.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. As we go into God knows what week of the lockdown, we've been trying to make sure that we get as much content out to you as possible. We had some interesting episodes in the last week. Cyrus says we had Anil Singh on it. That was a fun episode to listen to. On the Filter Coffee podcast, we had Taslima Nasleen and Arunav Sinha on that. That was another great conversation. Karthik Srinivasan joined Varun on Advertising is Dead. And guys, look for Pratik Oswal on Paisa Vaisa podcast with Anupam Gupta. That was another great episode. I'd also like to let people know that the show that we're doing with Mr. Ashish Vidyarthi, Begin the Journey, is now going to be releasing 3 times a week. So do check that out. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And let's get started with your show.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. This is DJ, your host from London, and this week is a continuation of last week's interview with the one and only Vijay Lokapally. If you've been following the podcast, last week we discussed the captaincies of Azhar, Sachin, Ganguly and Dravid, and we continue to move through the other Indian captains after 1990, namely Kumble, of course, the one and only MS Dhoni and Virat Kohli. So guys, sit back, relax and enjoy this week's episode. If you haven't heard last week's episode, it's an absolutely cracking episode. So go back and listen to that before you come back to this. But in any event, enjoy the show. Next captain, Vijay, on our list is the inimitable Anil Kumble, the highest test wicket taker for India. Captained only in 14 test matches. Again, had a tough assignment in Australia. And I want to talk about the one that really stands out for me. And that's the test match at Sydney in 2008. Now, were you down under covering that, or were you covering it from home? Were you part of the famous press conference where he recorded the Australian captain?
Unfortunately, I was not on the tour. I would have definitely loved, because Kumble is one of my very close friends from cricket. I mean, we have known each other from 1989 when he was playing for the India under-19 team against Pakistan under-19. I followed him from that time, and he is a very, very intelligent person. He is a very calm as a captain. I mean, you would have seen how he handled the situation in Australia. An exemplary statesman-like attitude that saved cricket. Actually, it could have been worse, but it was just because the captain happened to be Kumble. He handled the situation so beautifully, and it was also the awesome respect he has in international cricket. If you see that, also his stature in international cricket also helped him tackle the situation. I think it was India's fortune that Kumble was the captain on that Australia tour. Once again, like I said, he showed he was a statesman, and that's when the world cricket realized that it was always going to be good for international cricket to have someone like Kumble at the helm. And in later years, you see how he has been involved in administration at the ICC, in the cricket committee. He has played his role. Went on to become the India coach. He had to leave it in absolutely unfortunate circumstances, which was such an irony. And for somebody who gave so much to Indian cricket to leave in whatever conditions, whatever circumstances, he didn't deserve it. Definitely, he didn't deserve it. But yes, as a captain, once again, if you see, how many bowlers have led India? Kapil Dev, Bishan Bedi, from the list I see. Veeru was, of course, and Venkatraghavan. Yes, Venkatraghavan, and that's it.
Otherwise, Shastri count as a bowler? I guess he started as a bowler.
Yeah, bowler, but you remember more of his batting exploits, right?
By the end of it, he was more of a batsman.
So going out and opening and progressing to open an innings and score 100 in a test match. So Shastri, I would count him more as a batsman, but a purely bowler captain after Mr. Bedi or Venkatraghavan was, I think, is Kumble alone. And he led in 14 matches. Yeah, we can always say he should have led in more matches, but then Sehwag wouldn't have got his chance, or maybe Dravid wouldn't have got his chance if Kumble was made the captain. He could have been given the captaincy at an earlier stage, but whatever he did as a captain, I think Kumble was very dignified. He is one person, if you remember, very one of the few players to have never been summoned by a match referee. So which goes to show that in what spirit he played the game. Just see, how many times do you remember match referee summoning Anil Kumble? Only once.
Wow. I actually can't. I can only remember him getting very angry when there was misfielding of his bowling.
Yeah, that's why.
Although he was not John himself, but he was very angry whenever there was a misfield. But he took all the catches of his own bowling, and that is
absolutely. And he would also get angry when somebody would have misfielded at somebody else's bowling. Because I remember other day I was talking to Suresh Raina. He says the maximum person, I mean, he has had so many what should I say, Kumble has scored him so many times on the field. So many times. So it was again Kumble's intensity. It's not that he would hold it against the player. Everyone knew Kumble was such a understanding person, a very caring person. In fact, when it came to it, he would sit down with your problem, work on it the whole night, just because he wanted you to do well the next day. So how many would do that? How many players would do that? So when it comes to that, I think Kumble set a fantastic example with his on-field behavior, and off the field also. He was such a gentleman. He is a thorough gentleman, very well-read person, and I think he was to me one of the finest to have led, even though just 14. But he whatever matches he led, I think he did exceedingly well.
And as you say, very well read. He actually quoted I think it was Bill Woodfull during the Bodyline series. Only one team is playing cricket out there, to the Australian press, which I thought was a particularly great touch in Sydney. And of course, there was also that West Indian tour where he got hit in the jaw and then bowled with that bandage around his head, which another image which sends a shudder down our spines. I mean, what a competitor! That is leadership. I mean, if that isn't leadership, I don't know what is. He's saying, I'm going to put my body out on the line. I don't know whether that would be allowed now with all the concussion rules and all of that have come in. But I mean,
yes.
And I think he got Brian Lara out also in that game, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
Brian Lara's wicket.
Yes, he did. And I remember the test match I was covering, and when he was hit, there was, who found out the doctor for him? My photographer colleague V.V. Krishnan, who was on the tour. So he knew he had met a doctor from Andhra the previous day. So V.V. Krishnan sought him out from the stands. So he looked for him through his camera, and he knew where he was sitting. He reached him and told him that you have to meet Kumble. Not that there were not other doctors, but I think that doctor he became a good friend of Kumble later, and he helped Kumble to overcome that pain that day. And Kumble, if you remember, like you said, yes, he came back to bat also, bowl also, because he got Lara's wicket.
Yeah. Last two captains I want to speak about.
Yes, please.
And those are MS Dhoni, who captained from 2008 to 2014 before giving it up. So he took over after winning the 2007 World Cup, the T20 World Cup, where Sachin actually convinced the other seniors to give the youngsters a chance in this newfangled 2020 over game, and they should get some rest after the 2007 World Cup debacle and all of that. So this new team led by the long-haired MS Dhoni, wicketkeeper batsman, came out, and I mean, the rest, as they say, is history. I mean, he went from being the T20 captain to the ODI captain to the Test captain, and I mean, within a span of 6 years, we had won 3 ICC trophies. We'd gone to number 1 in the Test rankings. Of course, we had issues in England and Australia, but I mean, it was just an absolutely, it's what set these new expectations that Indian cricket fans have, that we must win every single game, because until then, India were a very good cricket side. as I've said before on this podcast, we were a very good cricket side, but we knew what it was to lose a test match without losing our rag completely. The fans would not, they understood we lost. I mean, Chennai, we applauded the Pakistan team when we lost that test match because it was a great game of cricket. That, I think, expectation changed completely with the advent of MS Dhoni and the success he had as captain. So, your highlights of MS Dhoni's captaincy, could it all have gone wrong if that Joginder Sharma over Misbah had kept his head and scored the runs?
In fact, yeah, you're right, because Misbah could have hit that ball anywhere in the world. I mean, it was a kind of predetermined shot. It'll be wrong of me to say that the ball didn't deserve a wicket, because Joginder did bowl his best. Srisan took a wonderful catch under pressure at that time. Imagine if Srisan had spilled the catch. So it was the moment, the deciding moment for him to have tossed the ball to Joginder. It was the moment for Joginder. It was the moment for Srisan. I think the moment for Indian cricket, because that victory sort of confirmed India as a fantastic upcoming T20 team. It led later to IPL. It led to changing the face of world cricket, how the game was played, and the fact that a small town boy could come and lead Indian cricket. I mean, you tell me how many of the previous captains had come from small town? Nobody. Kumble, Sehwag, Dravid, Ganguly, Tendulkar, Azhar, Srikanth, Shastri, Vengsarkar, all of them right up to C.K. Naidu. I don't think any of them had come, and not one cricketer, not one Indian captain from C.K. Naidu onwards had come from small town to lead the national team. And Dhoni was one, coming from Ranchi. He came to command his place, and he was assertive in his manner, you know. He wasn't very demonstrative. He didn't want to be demonstrative. It wasn't a very calculated effort. It was a natural instinct. It was very difficult to get to see Dhoni lose his cool, even off the field. He was very, very, very reserved when it came to very, very, what should I say, very, very cautious when it came to showing his temper. You know, he knew how to control himself. So that to me was his greatest quality, and which also ensured, and you see how he nurtured players from small town, from little known backgrounds as far as cricket is concerned. He loved it. He was convinced, because I'll share one thing with you. He had come the hard way. You know, he found it very difficult to convince senior cricketers in his own East zone when he was trying to make a mark, to convince them, to convince the selectors that he had it in him. So sometimes he would wonder. I remember one conversation with him in 2002-3 at Jaipur and Amritsar, you know, during domestic cricket. He said, "Will I ever get a chance? When would the likes of us get a chance?" What he was referring was obviously to cricketers from such background, you know, somebody from Ranchi or somebody from Uttarakhand or somebody from, say, wherever, small little place. But once he got the opportunity, he saw to it that he understood that he had to make a mark so that he would convince the coming generation of cricketers and administrators and selectors to have faith in those players who did not come from big cities, from metros, or who did not go to public school, or who did not speak good English. It is nothing wrong. I mean, you had some of our cricketers were very well read, and they studied the game very well. But Dhoni, to me, brought a different kind of leadership. He took it upon himself. He was ready to accept the blame. He would tell the players, "My fault. So relax." How many players would do that? How many captains would do that and say, "Look, we lost because it was my fault. I read the game wrong. I read the pitch wrong. I made that wrong move." Dhoni was the first to acknowledge. And he backed his players. He backed his team. And if you see, he believed in one good thing, which has been maintained by Kohli, that you have to give somebody a proper chance to fail before you discard him. Which is very, very important. You pick somebody only after he performs consistently in during a season or maybe a season more. So allow him a decent run before you decide that okay, he's not good enough for this level. Allow him to fail. Allow him to fail by giving him the opportunities. If you realize, okay, 2 series he has not been able to deliver, he's throwing his wicket, he's getting out to bad balls. But if he's getting out to good deliveries, Dhoni would be the first to acknowledge and come and pack the player. Or if the bowler would have bowled well and still not got wickets, Dhoni would be the first man to go and tell him, good bowled, well bowled, you are playing the next game. So Dhoni was a brilliant leader who always told the team that all the responsibility, all the blame, he was willing to take it upon himself. He just wanted the team to go and perform.
So I'm a massive MS Dhoni fan. So this is like music to my ears. I want him to play till 2029, how many ever games he plays. But I have 2 questions on this, and it's very interesting that you've brought up the Virat management style, which we'll come to later. Yeah. But MS Dhoni, did he change as a captain? Because in 2007, I remember him actually being quite expressive. I remember him celebrating wickets. I remember him showing emotion. But I think, and I guess you would probably know this better, but did he, once he got the job full time, did he then retreat into that shell that we see now, the Captain Cool mask that we see now of MS Dhoni, where you can't tell what's going on in that head of his? So that's the first question I have. And the second question is, it's probably a difficult question to answer, but how much of those ICC trophy wins is down to MS Dhoni as captain? Because I mean, I love him. I absolutely think he's a brilliant test. He's a brilliant limited overs captain. But I think a lot of those wins are down to him. And maybe a third question was: did he lose interest in Test cricket after a while? Because we had, I mean, with a one-day game, kind of the overs get over, and you then have a target to chase, unlike the Test game where you've actually got to bowl the team out. So we often saw under MS's captaincy, we had the team 7 or 8 wickets down, and this continues to date with Virat's captaincy, and we couldn't actually bowl the team out and win the game. So maybe those 3 questions. Firstly, the MS Dhoni Captain Cool mask. Secondly, how much of the ICC trophies are down to him, and thirdly, was he a good Test match captain?
Yeah, the first one is demonstrative Dhoni. You have to understand that if he was demonstrative in his first season or the next, it's natural, because he had certain plans, he had certain dreams, he was achieving them, he had made the right beginning. Winning a World Cup is huge, and winning a T20 World Cup at that time when the BCCI was not even inclined to send a team, and then when it did, it went without Sachin, Rahul and Saurav. So imagine this small-town boy, so-called small-town boy from Ranchi, leading a young team and winning the World Cup. So if he did express his joy, if he was jumping around, it is understandable. It was just the beginning of the Dhoni era. So that was one aspect of his, which gradually went out of public domain, because he was able to he learned to control his emotions, which helped him also sort of understand the situations better. If you keep your emotions under control, if you keep your temper under control, you're able to assess the situation better. So that is what he did in later years. He came to accept things as they were. And then how much of his captaincy in ICC trophy? Definitely T20, the World Cup, because the team rallied around him. And then the 2011 World Cup, if you see how he promoted himself, right? He was struggling the whole World Cup. And that wonderful night at the Wankhede, he came at number 5, right? And changed the...
Correct. He came into bat after Kohli got out. So right, 114 for 3.
Yeah, so a wicket at that point would have meant maybe, we don't know. I mean, it may have made it difficult for India. But he discussed it with Sachin, of course. And Sachin was also agreeable to the suggestion that Dhoni should go in. And of course, I mean, Gary Kirsten, he was behind, he supported the move. And look at how Dhoni walked in, and he was the batsman and the captain rolled together that night. He was playing, he was batting like a leader. He knew he had to finish it, and he finished it. And see how he finished it. I mean, it was such a classy, that iconic image. People remember Dhoni, even though Gautam Gambhir played the most decisive innings of his career at the T20 World Cup also, and this 2011 World Cup. Unfortunately, not many try to give Gambhir the credit. What a wonderful batsman he has been. But that night belonged to Dhoni, the captain, Dhoni, the leader, and Dhoni, the batsman, because of the way he carried the innings and the way he finished it. He not leaving anything to anyone. So this was it. And I'm sorry, what was the third question?
Was he a good test captain? Because I remember the Johannesburg game where they were chasing 450 plus South Africa, and we couldn't bowl them out on the last day. Joe Root and Jimmy Anderson put together world record 10th wicket partnership against Dhoni's India. I mean, we had them 120 for 8 at Trent Bridge in the second test match in 2011. And we lost that test match as well. So, I mean, did Dhoni run out of ideas in test cricket, particularly abroad? Because, as I said, with the limited overs game, you've got 50 overs and you then have a score to chase, unlike the test game where you've got to bowl the other side out.
No, I would, with due respect to you, I would like to disagree that he ran out of ideas, because, see, a captain, it's very easy to say he's as good as his team, or the team is as good as the captain. So if you have a bad captain, the team suffers. If you have a bad team, the captain suffers. So it is, he had come to realize that maybe he is himself not able to contribute as a captain. You know, he found it cumbersome to think for all the players and also for himself, because he was struggling with his batting, and maybe he felt the bowlers, his ideas were not working. He may have privately, he definitely was unhappy that after having made such a wonderful start, the team was not winning series abroad. Winning series at home, they would always tell you that, India was always formidable at home. Many great sides have come and lost in India, but it was always a dream for him to win a series in South Africa, in Australia, in England. So all those points put together, how the team was losing out on batsmen performing at critical junctures, bowlers also not able to deliver when they had it in them. You know, Dhoni was convinced that so and so bowler would be the best bowler at that point. If you remember, he made a poor decision by including RP Singh in one of the test matches in England. He brought him out of nowhere, and RP bowled the worst first test match over. And that's what Ian Botham, I think, said something to that tune, that probably the worst opening over he would have seen in a test match. So
surely that goes to Steve Harmison in the Ashes. But okay. Anyway, I think RP Singh was on holiday in Florida when he was called in for that, wasn't he?
Yes.
He wasn't quite fit at that stage. But of course, I mean, Dhoni, the 2-3 things that I remember of Dhoni in Test cricket as captain are allowing Ganguly to captain against Australia. Great. I thought that was a beautiful touch.
Yes, absolutely. That shows his respect for Ganguly, na? Because Ganguly also had nurtured him.
Yes. I thought that was a beautiful touch. I remember him taking apart Nathan Lyon at Chennai, scoring 212, I think.
Perfect, yes.
Which was brilliant. And that was the talk, because we'd lost to England under Dhoni's captaincy, and his captaincy was under threat.
Yes.
And Nathan Lyon was the big threat to India in 2012. And Dhoni just took him apart, went for 4-0, and things were back on track. And the third thing is, of course, Ishant at Lords in 2014.
Yeah.
Dhoni telling him to bowl bouncers, and Ishant just saying, "I'll do what you tell me, captain. I'll run through brick wall for you." And we won that famous test match. Of course, we lost that series, but those are the 3 nice memories I have of Dhoni in test cricket.
Yes, you're right.
But yes.
You're right. I mean, these are all, it was all, see, they said he was street smart. So if he was so street smart, how could you criticize somebody and sort of hold him alone responsible if the team was not doing well? So he had come to realize that. He had also come to realize that maybe he could extend his international career by concentrating on one-days and T20s, where he had a larger role to play as just the wicket-keeper batsman. It lent a lot of balance to the squad, and he felt Virat Kohli was ready to take over. And you see the decision that led to Dhoni calling it a day as a test player, and Virat playing his first test match as captain at Adelaide. And look at Virat's performance.
Absolutely. And of course, Dhoni ended with a 45% win rate, which is, it's an incredible win rate for somebody who's actually captained for a sustained period of time, only exceeded by people who've captained for one or two test matches. And as you said, Virat Kohli, who took over for the first time as stand-in captain in Adelaide, scored 200s there, batting at 4 in the first test match we played after Sachin retired. I remember being quite emotional that someone else was coming out to bat at 4, but it made no difference, did it? The man scored 200s in the Adelaide test match. And so, Vijay, now we've come to the last captain. We won't talk about Ajinkya Rahane because he's only captain in two games. But this is what our listeners have really been waiting for. And you, of course, have written the book about Virat Kohli called The Virat Kohli Story. So talk us through Virat as a person, as a leader, and as a captain. And one of the questions I have, and I think you said that he does back his players, but with due respect, of course, his treatment of Raidu before the World Cup, his constant chopping and changing of the team, does that actually, does that say that there was one stage where we played, I think, 30 test matches with a different 11 every time. So talk us through Virat Kohli's style as a leader. He's very expressive, of course, on the field. And so tell us about Virat. You've obviously literally written the book on him.
Yeah, see, the title of the book is Driven. So that sort of explains the man. He is driven. He is obsessed with winning. He is obsessed with doing well. And yes, I agree. There are certain flaws which he has, over a period of time, come to conquer. In the sense, yes, for 30 matches, different playing 11s, they were experimenting, and but they were continuing to do well. The chopping and this thing was done not just by the captain. There were the coaches, the team. There is a what should I say? The team management. And they were taking collective decisions. It is very easy to say from outside that he does it alone. He doesn't. If he was, then he should be known as an autocrat, not as a captain, because he is also he's convinced that this probably is the team in ages to go out and do well. When I say go out, means go and play overseas and learn to win abroad. But yes, it is not his fault that you are playing the West Indies or a weak Bangladesh or a weak Sri Lanka. That's not Virat Kohli's fault. You are tomorrow. It would be, how would you? If the team loses, same critics would always turn up and say, "Oh, they can't even beat the Bangladesh team." Right, and when you beat a Bangladesh team at home or abroad, you say, "Oh, they've only beaten the Bangladesh team." So it's very difficult to explain. If you are a Virat Kohli, he doesn't pick his opposition. These tours and series are planned in advance, 4 years in advance, 5 years in advance, and he just follows what the BCCI lays out. And you look at his involvement. At what point he is expressive, no doubt. But do you know what he does when he is not on the field? How he interacts with his players, how much of time he gives them, how he assures them, the kind of support he has lent to many of the players. There will always be one odd person who will not be very happy with the captain. It happens. It used to be, if you ask players from the past who wouldn't have played more than 5 test matches, they would only blame the captain. Without taking the blame upon themselves also of not having performed or not having delivered. But in Virat's case, yes, he is obsessed with winning, nothing wrong with it. He is obsessed with the fact that you have to all the time be at your best, nothing wrong with that. He does it. He has always tried to be at his best. Look at some of the fabulous innings he has played and all as captain. So do you think it's easy for somebody to maintain his concentration and focus as a batsman and as a captain. He is there, and he also, you will see there are times when he's consulting his bowlers, he's consulting other fielders also. So it is not that he is an autocrat, he is taking decisions by himself. There are plans are worked out during the breaks, during lunch, during tea. So I think it is wrong to say that Virat is taking decisions by himself. It is not. He's a player's captain. See how he has changed the mindset of the team, how they've come to understand their fitness. How? Because he sets an example. If he has said that, I did one big interview with him where he said that I can't be telling my colleagues what to do, or something which I have not been doing myself. So they follow him. They've tried to model. Look at this young generation of cricketers. They are so supremely fit. That is the first thing he demands. You have to be fit, because if you're fit, you will always be able to give your best. If you're not fit, you can't come back for the third run, right? And if you come back for the third run panting, you're at the other end, and the striker calls you for another quick single, then you have to have the energy to do that. You see how Virat runs his own runs and how he runs for the other guy. So that is because he's a captain, he's a leader. There will be flaws. He is not a perfect human being. Everybody has flaws, but I have a lot of time for him, not because I have known him for so long, and not because I want to promote my book, but he is a wonderful, wonderful cricketer who is, yes, with time he will learn. He has learned to mellow. He doesn't maybe not lose his temper or show his emotions on the field as he used to. He is learning to do that, but he is natural. He knows when he's shouting, 3 cameras are going to focus on him. He knows that, but still he goes ahead with it because he wants the team to be at its best. And that doesn't mean that he's going to hold something against any of the players. For what? Yes, he will definitely take you to task for lack of effort, but he will be the first to come and congratulate you for making an effort. So that is what a captain is supposed to do. And I think that is what he is doing. Forget how demonstrative he is on the field, because my argument is simple. If the cameras don't pan on him when he is shouting at somebody, the world would never know. So why should the cameras be on him all the time? When he is expressing, he is giving instructions to the players, why can't the camera just be on the bowler or the batsman, where you don't have to tell the world? Because after all, if there is such intensity, there is such competition on the field, that any player, any captain, any bowler would be in a very, in a very demonstrative behavior, which can be seen on television, which often also is misleading. It is very natural on the field for somebody to get worked up. And that doesn't mean that he is a bad captain, or he is a bad human being, or he is just short-tempered. It is very, very wrong. And I think Virat is leading the team when there is such scrutiny, there is such high expectations from the team. So he has to also whip up his voice. And when he does that, I don't think anybody should be complaining.
Absolutely. We're massive Virat fans on the show as well. So it's very interesting to hear that from you as well. But 2 questions on Virat and captaincy and his performance. I mean, his stats are unbelievable. He's got a 60% win rate as captain in 55 tests. I mean, no one even comes close to that. It is absolutely fantastic what he's done. But you spoke about the team management. And of course, you spoke about Anil Kumble having to resign as coach in unfortunate circumstances. How does Virat surround himself with the right people? I'm trying to find the right way of asking this question, but you know what I'm getting at. Who are the right people for Virat to surround himself with at this stage? Because, of course, he's a fantastic player. He's probably the greatest ODI player to ever played the game. He's a brilliant Test match player, he's a brilliant T20 player. But to help with strategy and take some of that load off him, does he need somebody other than a Ravi Shastri? I'm just going to come out and ask you.
Ravi Shastri will always be there, right? And there is a batting coach. It used to be Sanjay Bangar, and now you have Vikram Rathore. Then there are selectors also. It is wrong to say that if people think that he doesn't interact with the selectors, very wrong, very ill-informed. He does interact with them. And there is his coach, his personal coach, who doesn't give him cricketing tips on how to bat. But the mentoring which he has had from Rajkumar Sharma works a lot. I mean, it has helped him a lot in very, very difficult situations. So if there is Rajkumar Sharma, yes, then he himself he depends on himself. He's so confident. He's so sure of what he is doing. His own planning. He keeps it to himself. He does. I mean, how would anybody know what he does inside the room, right? He's always
absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Yeah, he is thinking. He is thinking for the team what is to be done the next day. He and Ravi Shastri have long hours. He and Kumble used to have. He has whatever has happened. Kumble has tremendous regards, and Virat Kohli also has tremendous respect for Kumble. And after that episode, I don't know how many of you know that Kumble, he invited Kumble for his reception, and he attended in Mumbai.
That's a very nice touch.
Yes,
that's a very nice touch.
Yes, after all that was written, and how Virat deleted the tweet and what he had to say and what Kumble never said anything, but see, he remembered to invite Kumble, and Kumble went and attended the reception in Mumbai. So it shows the kind of relationship they've had even after having fallen out as captain and coach, right? As two matured people, but. Virat has Ravi Shastri. He has a lot of faith in him, and Ravi Shastri is the only person who can take him to task.
That's very interesting to hear, actually, because the general perception is that they both just get along and not in agreement to each other. But this is very interesting that Ravi Shastri can actually take Virat to task, because one of the questions is, does anyone have the stature to take Virat to task? I mean, Sunil Joshi is, of course, the chairman of selectors. There was MSK Prasad before that. So these are not cricketers that have the same stature as a Sunil Gavaskar or a Bishan Singh Bedi or Sachin Tendulkar or a Virender Sehwag, VVS Lakshman, greats of the game, right? Sunil Joshi, very good cricketer, but not quite in the same level. And that is the question. Is there a check and a balance on Virat as captain?
How do you come to the conclusion that Virat will not respect Tendulkar because Sunil Joshi, because the world thinks he doesn't have the stature? Virat Kohli.
No, I'm just asking. Is that right?
I'm not blaming you. I'm saying that's the general perception people had of MSK Prasad, right? MSK Prasad, 6 test matches. What will he tell Kohli? He used to tell Kohli because he is there as chairman of the selection committee. And that is what Virat Kohli also respects. Virat Kohli is not the one who would ridicule any of these selectors in the meeting. No, none of them have had an issue with him. They all, Gagan Khoda, right? Sarandeep Singh, they have never had issues. Or you say Devang Gandhi, Jatin Paranjape, MSK Prasad. When it comes to people say, collective strength only 13 test matches. Arey bhai, how do you know Virat Kohli is not counting 13 test matches? Virat Kohli is banking on them to tell him who are the right players to come into the Indian team now. Who is the player to go back and sort his game out in domestic cricket? Because Virat Kohli is not watching domestic cricket at all. These selectors are going and watching hours and hours on the ground and picking players. So they may not always pick the best. There could be one or two who may not measure up to the expectations. But Virat Kohli has no disrespect for any selector, no disrespect for any of his staffers. There will be differences, yes. You will hear all kinds of stories from a lot of people. But please remember that if Virat Kohli is the captain of the Indian cricket team, then Sunil Joshi is the chairman of the Indian selection committee. So he's there in a role which has been given to him by the Board of Control for Cricket in India, and they have mutual respect for each other. So you can expect a very good partnership wherever the game, whenever things become normal, whenever the world is able to fight COVID-19, you will see that the MSK Prasad Kohli partnership was very good, and the selection committee did a wonderful job. And it was only and only because of the cooperation and the respect they had for each other. And then you have a man like Ravi Shastri there who will not take any nonsense from anyone. So he will not stop at telling Virat Kohli that you are wrong. So if you see in a selection committee, when there is a meeting happening, there will be differences, right? So, but you don't carry those differences. You don't hold a grudge against somebody because he may not have supported a selection of a particular player. But yes, there are times when the captain may have a liking for a particular player. Selectors understand, support that idea, and when that particular player doesn't do well, the same captain tells the selectors, right, you were wrong. I was wrong, and you can look for a replacement. You can give me another player. But please remember that the captain is also in consultation he takes the decisions in consultation with the selectors and not by ruling them out or not by trying to dominate the selection committee by saying, oh, I'm Virat Kohli, the best player in the world. What are you going to tell me? No, because Virat depends on their inputs, depends on their vision. The selectors bring a certain vision to the selection committee meeting. So here you have Sunil Joshi, who is very, very good student of the game. He has been a wonderful cricketer. He may not have played as many test matches as he should have, but he has, 600 plus wickets, first class wickets. So it's not easy to get 600 wickets.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vijay, you can't see me, but I'm actually sitting here smiling. And it's so reassuring to hear you say this, that people are looking after the interest of Indian cricket. And as fans of the game, I mean, we obviously see it from the outside, but it is great to see that there are enough checks and balances. And Virat, of course, respects the decisions of the chairman of selectors, and Ravi Shastri is actually what the doctor ordered for Indian cricket. So that's great to hear as well. But the last question before we wrap, and this is something that's been doing the rounds on Twitter for quite a while. And the question is, should Virat, and he's already spoken about this for 2023 as giving up all three forms of cricket and concentrating perhaps on test cricket. Should there be a move towards splitting the captaincy between the limited overs game and the test game in India, with a view to giving perhaps someone like Rohit Sharma a look into the limited overs captaincy? So very keen to hear your thoughts on that, because the argument is he's a very good T20 captain. He's won the Asia Cup. He's won the IPL a number of times with the Mumbai Indians. So it would take some of the load off Virat's shoulders.
No, I don't think. We can always have a discussion on this split captaincy. It is a question which will involve a lot of thinking. How do you know that Rohit Sharma would be able to perform the same role if he is told that, yes, okay, now you are captain for the season? And what is it that Rohit Sharma brings to his job as captain that Virat Kohli doesn't? I mean, I'm very keen to know from these people that what is it that Virat Kohli lacks, and what is it that Rohit Sharma has, apart from the fact that he is his own contribution with the bat. So I think Virat is far better suited to absorb the pressure of captaincy and perform as a batsman than Rohit, who should be allowed to just bat freely without the responsibilities of a captain. I'm not trying to undermine Rohit Sharma at all. I love his batting. I think other than Virat, possibly he has in the world so much time to play a ball, whether he's playing a test match, whether he's playing a one-day match, any form of cricket. He has so much time at his disposal to play. And he's such an elegant batsman. I mean, normally you would want to watch a left-hander in flow, but I would any day, in modern cricket, I would love to buy a ticket to watch Rohit Sharma bat. But I would rather see him playing his role and performing and delivering as a batsman, as an opener, without the added responsibility of captaincy, because you have Virat doing a perfect job there. And when time comes, let Virat if he feels the pressures are sort of pulling him down, he can always look at doing just taking over the role in test matches, but leave the decision to Virat, as you had left the decision to MS Dhoni, who decided that yes, he'll be better off playing just one-day cricket and T20, and gave the captaincy role to Virat, and also decided to give up Test cricket. So we should respect Virat's contribution to Indian cricket and allow him to take the decision. If he feels he is being burdened by the extra responsibilities of captaincy, he can hand it over to Rohit Sharma and then play just as a batsman. It's up to also the selectors to take a call, and also for the BCCI, because when you hand over the role of captaincy to somebody, it is not just that he will be leading the side. There are a lot of factors which go into it. And so here I think we shouldn't be in a hurry. There's no hurry to take such decisions. But yes, personally, if Virat feels he is not comfortable handling all the responsibilities in all the three formats, and if he's comfortable just leading test matches, give it to Rohit Sharma, but not without at least consulting him. I'm sure selectors will not do that.
Absolutely. That's a great response. The conversation has been absolutely amazing. I mean, it's such an in-depth conversation, a look into Indian captains from the 1990s. So basically throughout my lifetime and almost your working career. So it's been absolutely fabulous having you on this show. Would you mind telling our listeners where they can find you on Twitter? Perhaps you could tell them about some of the books you've written so they can go and read some of your books as well.
Yes. Now, my Twitter handle is @Vijay Lokapally. That's my name. Very simple. I put originally it was @Brad Sobers, Bradman and Sobers. So
pretty low expectations then.
So it was, my Twitter handle was @Brad Sobers. And then this gentleman from the BCCI, Gaurav Saxena, we were sitting in the press box. He said, who will know who's Brad Sobers? He says, you should be @Vijay Lokapally. So in the Mohali press box, I remember he changed it to @Vijay Lokapally. So that became easy. That is my Twitter handle. And I have done this book. I had done very long ago. I'd helped Kapil Dev with his coffee table book, which was again a fantastic product when he retired after his cricket was over. And then my first book was the Virender Sehwag story, and then came Driven in between. Not many would know that I love writing on cinema, and with my film critic friend Zia Salam from the Hindu, and Anuj Kumar, who is also a film critic with the Hindu in Delhi. We three came out with a book called Houseful, where we revisited 50 classics from Indian cinema, from the black and white era to essentially from black and white era. And I was given some very classic movies to write about, and the cinema has been also very dear to me. And so that Houseful is there. And I and Gullu, we are now working on a book, Fast Bowlers, History of India's Fast Bowlers, which should be...
Speed Merchants, isn't it?
Yes, please. Yeah.
So we spoke to Gulu a few episodes ago, and he mentioned he was working with you on this book, and we're really looking forward to it, actually.
Yes, please. So it's a bit delayed, but whenever it comes, I'm hopeful, because Gulu has done a brilliant job of writing about the fast bowlers of the era gone by, and I've also worked on it from whatever little contribution I could make. So I hope it will be appreciated and received well by cricket fans of Indian cricket. And maybe in future, if there are offers, there are other offers to write more books. But I'll be happy. I've loved this medium. This I've discovered of late, thanks to Siddharth Vaidyanathan, that podcast, 81 All Out, that sort of introduced me to this new medium. And now, thanks to you, I've loved this conversation. I've enjoyed. I can go on for another 1 hour, but then I don't want to test the patience of listeners, who would be, you can't give them a 2-hour podcast. They would all be hard pressed to listen to it at one go. But I've honestly enjoyed, because it's a wonderful topic you had given me. And I'm telling you very honestly, I didn't have the time to prepare. So whatever, if I made mistakes, you'll have to excuse me during my observations. But whatever has come from my understanding of the game and from my heart.
And it's been absolutely brilliant. And trust me, after 34 years writing about sports, you don't need a single net. It's like Virender Sehwag, first ball 4. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
4 for none.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
It's been brilliant, Vijay. Thank you so much and hope to speak to you again soon. Yeah. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And that's a wrap on this week's show, guys. It's episode 110. Part 2 of the interview with Vijay Lokapally. I hope you enjoyed that, guys, because we certainly enjoyed having a chat with Vijay. As usual, send us your feedback on the show. We're at contact@onetiponehand.com. That's the number 1 tip, the number 1 hand.com. Same handle on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That's @1tip1hand. Tell us what you think about the show. Write in. And just keep listening. Tell your friends about the show. Leave us a review. And stay safe during this lockdown. It's a little tedious now, but hopefully you're all doing well. And we will be back next week with yet another episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, so keep listening.
Look! Up in the internet! It's a meme! No! It's a cat video! No! It's the Geek Fruit Podcast!
That's right. We interrupt this riveting broadcast to tell you about our show, The Geek Fruit Podcast, where Tejas, Dinkar and I, Jishnu, talk about everything in pop culture, including DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Netflix, and everything in between.
You know how your friends hate it when you ramble about some nerdy crap and you just want somebody to listen to you? Well, sorry, there's nothing we can do about that, but come listen to us ramble and it'll almost be like the real thing. Kind of.
Listen to new episodes of the Geek Fruit Podcast every Monday and the Geek Fruit Bulletin every Thursday on iTunes, Google Podcasts, the IVM app, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy listening, you nerds.
Do you wish you were smarter? Well, so do we. But the next best thing?
We could make you sound smarter.
And to help you with this endeavor, we are Simplified, a podcast that attempts to break down the complex world around you with a little knowledge, a lot of poor jokes, and a ton of random trivia.
Episodes out every Monday
on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
See ya!